everyone. First of all, I'm very happy to be here today for presenting to you an initiative from the government of Quebec, which aims to be a first step towards comparable carbon footprint certifications. And that initiative is called the Carbon Footprint Pilot Project from Quebec. So here's a little outline of today's presentation. First, I'll draw a short portrait of the context of carbon footprinting in Quebec. Then I'll explain to you what were our first observations, which led us to implement a pilot project itself. Then I'll present the pilot project, and I'll present rapidly, quickly our planning for the project. And just before taking your questions, I'll present to you a little video summing what we aim to do during the pilot project. And as it is the last presentation before lunch, I'll try to keep it short and sweet. So first of all, what is happening with regards to carbon footprint in Quebec? Well, I'd like to say it all began in 2010 when the government of Quebec secured $24 million for a new subsidy program over 3 years. The funding envelope is managed by the Ministry of Economic Development, Innovation and Export Trade, and funding is granted to all fees related to the quantification, verification, certification, and also marketing of the carbon footprint of products. So the main objective, of course, of that subsidy program is to promote the labeling of carbon footprint of products, but also to help companies gain a better understanding on the environmental performance of their products regarding to climate change, to help them focus their efforts on efficiency improvements and cost-saving opportunities through greenhouse gas reduction, also drive innovation and prepare these businesses to the requirements of major ordering parties. So we want to promote the carbon footprint labeling, but we do not want to reinvent the wheel. So what we did was to get a look at all, well, not all, but at several international initiatives related to carbon footprint of products. Why did we do that? Is because we wanted to be aligned with the best practices and also to speak the same carbon footprint language, let's say. So what we observed was that there are different initiatives. There's certification systems, there are national certification programs, and they have requirements that may be similar but are not always the same regarding accounting, so quantification, auditing, verification, certification, as well as communication. First of all, regarding the quantification aspect, so the calculation of the carbon footprint itself, what we see at the moment is regarding the framework methodology, we really see first results of harmonization. I'm thinking here about the publication of the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, the Product Lifecycle Standard, the PAS 2050, the Draft International ISO 14067. So this is a good start, but the main challenge now is to build off these framework methodology and give enough specificity for the different product categories in order to enhance the comparability of the results. And this is achieved through the development of PCRs, as you well know. And you also know why the development of PCRs is such a challenge. And I'd like still to illustrate that challenge through a case study that was done by a Climate Up last year, I think. And what was done during that case study is that different organizations from around the world were given the mandate to realize life cycle assessment following ISO 14040. And they were supposed to compare a single-use beer bottle to a reusable beer bottle. So you can see here the graph presenting the results. So you have, for the different institutions, you have the red bar presenting the results for the single-use beer bottle, and the green bar presenting the results for the reusable beer bottle. Now, what is interesting to see is that for the different organizations, they all reach the same conclusion, but if you take the different organizations separately, there's a variation of the results. And why is that? It was because partly different databases were used, different types of database, different versions of database. Assumptions also were different regarding the modeling specification. So it highlights the importance of having specific guidelines for different product categories than the central role, of course, of PCR. Now, at the moment, in the magnificent world of the PCRs, there's a lot of PCRs coming from different initiatives, and at the moment, we have a challenge regarding the harmonization of these several initiatives. So that was our observation when we started the preliminary work, in Quebec, regarding the accounting part of the carbon footprint, and now regarding the auditing, verification, certification, and and communication issue. Our first observation was the same, and well, not the same, but it was similar, and that observation is that from one initiative to another, the requirements can be different. Regarding the audit issue, well, related to verification here, there can be different requirements. Some initiatives allow internal independent reviewer, other require to have a third-party verifier, by a single expert or by a panel of experts also. Regarding the on-site auditing of data also, there are different requirements, as on-site data is not always a requirement. Regarding the certification, well, it's quite simple. There's different types of certification, national programs, or certification coming from reputable organization. And regarding the communication itself, you can communicate through different ways. You can communicate the product carbon footprint of your product, giving the number or not giving the number, depending on the initiative. You can also communicate with regard to the performance of your product regarding to other in the same category. So which brings us to our pilot project. Now, the context is that we have that subsidy program of $24 million over 3 years, and we face challenges regarding quantification, audit, certification, and communication. So a pilot project was for us a good solution as a first step in the implementation of the subsidy program, in order, of course, to inform and guide the implementation of the said subsidy program, but also to contribute to the harmonization of international best practices. So who is involved in the pilot project? Well, of course, the government of Quebec. And the government of Quebec gave the mandate to the Ciraig, which is the Inter-University Research Center for the Life Cycle Assessment of Product, Processes, and Services, from where I'm from. So the government of Quebec gave the Ciraig the mandate to coordinate all, to do the coordination and management of the scientific aspects of the pilot. And also, we're working with the Bureau de Normalisation du Québec, which is our standardization office, and they really have an expertise regarding verification and certification. So they're going to work with us in the pilot, and the pilot wouldn't be the pilot if we were not having around 12 businesses working with us and testing the methodologies and the verification and certification aspects. The companies were selected in order to cover a broad spectrum of industrial sector, of kind of products. We have end products, intermediate products, services also. And here you have the little pictures illustrating the products on which they're going to work. And what are they going to do? Regarding the quantifications or the calculation aspect of the project, they're all going to use the Greenhouse Gas Protocol Product Lifecycle Standard as a baseline methodology. Then, depending on the products, sometimes there's already a PCR existing. In some other case, there's no PCR. If there's no PCR existing, we do not want, for the pilot project, we do not want to develop new PCR. We do not want to add another PCR to the existing ones. So for these products, what we'll do is compare different methodologies. So we'll compute we'll compute carbon footprints with the Greenhouse Gas Protocol and with other methodologies such as the PAS 2050 or the Draft International Standard in order to highlight which methodological aspects for that category of products would need more guidelines. Now, when a PCR or more already exists for the product, what we're going to do is to first evaluate the compatibility of the PCR with the greenhouse gas protocol, and then we're going to test these different PCR. We'll have different tests that are going to be undertaken always in order, with the idea of evaluating the repeatability of the results. And what kind of tests are we going to do? Let's say we take a PCR, we'll take 2 analysts in 2 separate rooms, giving them the same mandate. Please calculate the carbon footprint of that product using that same PCR. And we want to evaluate if the results are going to be significantly different or not. We are also going to try, if there are more than one PCR existing, we're going to evaluate the difference between the 2 PCRs, the carbon footprint coming out of these of the two PCR. And another sensitivity analysis that could be made would be to have one analyst using one PCR, but having different level of interpretation of that PCR. So that was for the quantification aspect. Regarding the audit, we will test the different verification scheme. So address if we can reach the same level of assurance with internal verification or third-party verification by one expert or by a panel. And also we would like to inform on best practices for on-site data auditing. Regarding the certification in itself, we totally agree that at the moment some international efforts are on the way, or at least we're thinking about it. But in the meantime, the main question that we have in Quebec for the pilot is: should we develop a certification which is going to be specific to Quebec, or should we instead provide guidance to the companies and to the consultants in order to orient them towards the most relevant existing certification according to their product and to their market? And the aspect of communication and how to communicate the result will be addressed along with the certification in itself. Now, a quick look at our planning. Actually, the project was just announced 2 months ago, officially, actually, because there were some underground work undergoing before. During the spring and the summer, we will be monitoring the progress of the participating companies, and by the end of the year, we expect to have a public report presenting the recommendation of Ciraig and the Bureau de Normalisation du Québec. Of course, we will be interested to follow up with the PCF World Forum, and of course, we'll welcome any input on your part. So thank you everyone for your attention. Thank you for this opportunity to present the pilot project from Quebec. And now, just before taking your questions, I will have a short video that is managed.
The carbon footprints of products, or tracking a product step by step. Today, shoppers can compare nutritional information by reading product labels. Soon, they'll be able to choose products that have the lowest impact on climate change thanks to their carbon footprint. But what exactly is the carbon footprint? It's the total amount of all greenhouse gas emissions stemming from each of the 5 stages of a product's life cycle, and it applies to both goods and services. Let's look at a can of food. Already during the harvest that provides its content, greenhouse gases, or GHGs, are released into the atmosphere. The same goes for every stage of the product's life until it reaches the dinner table. At the end of its life cycle, the can will have been responsible for its share of GHG emissions. Product carbon footprint labeling plays a part in fostering environmentally friendly consumer habits. Asia and Europe have already begun tackling this issue. On the heels of this international trend, the Quebec government will inject $24 million over the next 3 years to create a voluntary carbon footprint labeling initiative, Empreinte Carbone Québec. But calculations are complex, so a 1-year pilot project will help focus on best ways to measure, verify, and certify. The pilot project aims to help companies improve their competitive advantage, stimulate innovation, and reduce risk. Empreinte Carbone Québec will also highlight here and abroad the non-monetary competitive advantage of Quebec products that have a reduced carbon footprint due to the use of hydroelectricity. The project will help companies identify what steps to improve in order to make greener products and will pave the way for similar environmental initiatives. If hundreds of companies and thousands of products join in, think of the positive impact on our climate. You can track the carbon footprint of products with Empreinte Carbone Québec, an initiative of le Ministère du Développement économique, de l'Innovation et de l'Exportation in collaboration with the Ciraig and the Bureau de Normalisation du Québec.
Just for information, Empreinte Carbone Québec is the French name of Carbon Footprint Quebec.